Daniel Wales, and the year is 1693. I am retired from His Majesty's service now. But 43 years ago, I was deep into a great mystery at sea. Now I know you mates have all heard some fine vampire stories in your years. How many of you have actually heard a tale that turned out to be true? Well, I know for a fact that this report is accurate, because I wrote it after my horrible experience. I was there to witness the curse of the dreadnought as it was laid down, and I haven't spoken about the matter since, because I've been sworn to secrecy, along with everyone else who was there. The Thanksgiving feast was finished. The table was dismissed and the entire family adjourned to the library, where a large warm fireplace awaited. Pipes were lit and glasses of hot rum were poured.
You know, Grandfather, this fine evening would be a great opportunity to finally tell us about the dreadnought,
said one of my grandsons. With a look of concern, my fine wife looked at my grandson and said,
"You know your grandfather is forbidden to speak of it, so why bring the matter up?" "Oh, come on, that was so long ago, and it is time we all heard the truth. I am tired of the rumors."
The rest of the family jumped in and agreed, even though my wife dismissed them all. So I stood up. I poked the fire hard, sending embers flying around the room. I turned quickly and the room went silent. Sneering at them all, I said, "Very well then, I will tell the story. But before I begin, I warn each of you, the reason I was sworn to secrecy is because at least half the men who survived that encounter with me that night are missing. Just disappeared they did without a trace. It is a popular belief that anyone who hears this story will be cursed and subject to be taken. It is believed the dreadnought especially wants the ones that tell the story. In fact, no one who has told this tale has ever been seen again. The dreadnought is still out there, so all of you should leave this room right now." "Very well then, but prepare yourselves." The H.M.S. Dreadnought was a British warship that sailed the seas a century ago. While on patrol, she encountered some sort of sea creature. The dreadnought was drugged down by this creature, and crew's souls were stolen. We all grew up hearing the stories and the rumors. I remember my mother telling me when I was a young boy that if I did not behave myself, she would sell me to the dreadnought. And the dreadnought has been seen many a time since, when the moon is just right and the fog runs thick. They say she is a great ghost ship that runs out of the fog and attacks ships and towns, capturing all that can be rounded up. Men's souls are ripped from them, with what's left going to serve their new master as mindless, blood-sucking slaves serving some sort of creature. And when enough blood has been collected, the cursed crew calls for the sea maiden to appear. And as she rises up out of the sea, she gluts herself with the blood. I have seen this demon with my own eyes. Now, the British Navy received several reports of sightings of this devil ship in 1 month alone. And these reports didn't come from crazy fishermen or townspeople either. These sightings came from our own warships. Half the ships were missing, and the ones that managed to come back came back wild-eyed, claiming they had sailed for their lives and their souls. And what spooked the king is that these sightings put the dreadnought on a direct course for England. So the king ordered 100 warships to blockade the English coast and to stop the dreadnought at any cost. We were 3 days at sea on a freezing late afternoon. My ship, along with 9 others, reached the area we were assigned to blockade. cold wind that came down on us from the north seemed strange for some reason. It almost seemed alive as it screamed in and out of the ship's riggings, dancing and whirling around us, whispering things in our ears that we did not understand. The icy devil bit in our faces and then headed off across the rough sea, only to pick up speed to return to taunt us again.
And you hear the winds,
said my first officer, Mr. Klein. Yes, I hear it, Mr. Klein, and it sounds like the wind to me, I replied.
I don't like it one bit, sir, and neither does the crew. It is one thing to sacrifice one's life for God and country, but it is a different matter to sacrifice one's soul.
Belay that mumbo-jumbo, Mr. Klein. Things are bad enough without having my officers succumbing to this hoax. Listening intently to our conversation, the ship's helmsman, Mr. Harding, said,
I hear the winds whispering too, Captain. It is a warning that we should leave while we can, sir.
You too, Mr. Hart. You, of all people, would have me run like a scared little schoolgirl from something we have not even laid a scope on.
You know there will be a full moon, sir, and when it rises, the dreadnought will come.
Before I could answer, the lookout called down from the crow's nest, "Ship off the port bow! Out in the horizon, sir, off the port bow!" "Set a course to intercept," I ordered, and with the wind hard in our sails, we set out to investigate the ship. We all stared intently through our scopes. After half an hour or so, I slammed my scope shut and screamed, "It's a damned pirate ship! Stand by all cannon!" "He's just sitting there, sir," said the lookout. "He's up to something," I yelled. "We better keep an eye on this fellow here. A lone pirate ship in these waters makes no sense at all."
Maybe he has a death wish, Captain.
Pirates do not have death wishes, Mr. Klein. Except for other people's, that is. Why is it he just sits there, dead in the water, while 10 British warships close in on him? "Mr. Klein," I ordered, "signal 3 of our ships to come up his port, and 3 to come up his starboard. I shall come up the middle to him, slowly and at approach speed, and stand by all cannon. Get those Marines on deck with rifles and bayonets fixed."
The sun will be down in an hour, sir, and that moon is going to rise.
The crew went into a frenzy and I yelled at them all, "You will all return to your stations, or I will hang every single one of you when we return to port. I will hang you all right next to that pirate." We were coming up on the pirate ship fast, so I ordered the ship to slow speed. Through my scope I could see her flag plainly now, and so could the rest of the crew. But my heart jumped into my throat when my scope scanned the name of the ship. It read, "The Dreadnought." But as we approached, I thought to myself, how could this be? This was no ghost ship. As we came alongside the Dreadnought, I could see her crew to be in very bad shape. They were all sickly looking. They were pale, white, with sunken black eyes and sores all over their arms and their faces. The captain of the Dreadnought ran to the rail and he said,
"You'd better clear off while you can, you British stork."
"What is wrong with you and your crew? Are you a plague ship?"
"Oh no, sir. We've no plague here. We carry something far worse than any stinking plague."
"Well, a good hanging will cure that."
"You'd better be on your way, Captain, and forget your uppity ways this day."
"What happened to you, man?"
50 years ago, she came to us on a black night. She dragged this ship and its crew down. She drank our blood and ripped away our souls, and then she returned us to the surface to serve her. I don't know if I'm alive or dead, but I do know that if you don't stay clear, she will take you too. Just look at us. She will come, and the curse will be resumed. Sail away from this doomed ship as quick as you can, because when the moon comes up and the fog runs thick, we will come and we will take all of your ships and crew. Believe me, Captain, when I tell you, there is nothing you
Just then the sun slipped down the horizon, and as the moon began to rise, the captain and crew of the dreadnought screamed in pain. The last thing the captain said was,
"Here she comes, mates! You better be ready for this! I'll see you all in hell!"
A dense fog began to grow around the dreadnought, and we were losing sight of her in the mist. The great ship seemed to drift in and out of sight. One moment it was there, then the next it was not. But one thing was for certain, though. Each time that it reappeared, it was changing. And the change was not for the better. "Something is going to rise out of the sea!" I yelled.
"Off to starboard!"
Yelled one of the crew. I jerked my head, and I ran to the rails to get a better look as the sea began to boil. A great crack of lightning came down and struck the fog bank which was concealing the dreadnought.
"There, Captain, there! What the hell is that?"
What came out of the depths, and from Hades itself as far as I was concerned, was the body of a rotting sea maiden. In and out of the waves she floated, appearing and disappearing, in and out of the sea. God, what a horrible scene it was. Like I said, she was completely rotten, face down. A group of gulls quickly spotted her. Within seconds, they were all over her back, pecking at her.
I've always heard of such creatures, Captain, but I've always believed they were the stuff of fairy tales.
Aye, and aren't they supposed to be beautiful? But, oh, what of the stench! Oh. Slowly, the creature swam in and out of all of our ships, her great black tail showing off disgusting, festering sores. She had nasty black eye sockets that ran with worms and bugs and such, all crawling in and out, wallowing in that maiden stench. But despite the worms, I knew she could see me. My skin crawled as I looked upon her. She spoke to us, in our minds and not with words, saying,
"I am the keeper of the great pit. You, Captain, will serve me well, and your crew's blood will quench my thirst, and the many who will wait their day to arise."
That was when we opened fire on her. As our rifle fire tore through that maiden, bits of rotted flesh flew everywhere. And that banshee, she just laughed as the gulls came in by the hundreds, each to claim their piece. Our other ships came up fast, but as they did, here came the dreadnought out of the fog.
For God's sake, Captain! Look at that! I should have told you we should have left when we had the chance! You've doomed us all!
The dreadnought did indeed look as if it just come up from the bottom after 50 years. She was covered with slime and rot and worms, and her crew looked no better as they hooked our ships and began to board us. The dreadnought was not faring well as our ships pounded her with cannon fire. She showed off half a mast with another one on its way. There were several holes in her starboard showing fires pouring out of each. There was nothing left of the sails, they had all been burnt away, and the deck of the dreadnought was completely afire, as was much of the crew. But the horrible thing was her crew was still very much alive. Oh, they were alive, all right, but they were not intact. This did not stop the curse of the dreadnought from being laid down in full force. And it was being laid down hard on all of our ships and all of our crew with no mercy. All the tales of the curse I had heard as a boy and the ones that were handed down from generation to generation did not do this horrid justice. It was worse than anything I could have possibly imagined. It didn't take us long to discover something. There would be no killings of the demons of the dreadnought. No way, no how. This was the secret of the dreadnought. Her crew could not die. But I saw that devil ship's crew up on deck. They were burnt, badly, some right to the bone. Some were missing parts. Others showed off sores that would have killed 10 mortal men. And again, the dreadnought's captain and crew screamed in pain as they dealt every bolt of fire we put forth on them. But still, on they came. Because these devils could not be stopped, they soon ran over all of our ships. No mercy. Oh yes, no resistance? You could shoot at one with a shotgun and blow him back about 10 feet. He just look at you and laugh, throw his severed arm over the side and still just come on. And I just watched in horror as these demons went about their evil task of evoking the curse. I hope none of you ever have to witness a man's soul being ripped from his body. The crew's soul's gone. The captured men were hung upside down over the sea, and their throats were cut. And that sea maiden just laughed and laughed as she showered herself in the blood. But as I looked over the side at her, I swear, I saw her changing to a magnificent, beautiful creature, covered in the blood as if it gave her life. The fight went on for hours, but in the morning, as the sun began to rise, all went silent. I looked around at the horror that surrounded me. 2/3 of the crew of all 10 ships were dead, hanging from just about everywhere, with not one drop of blood left in them. And the dreadnought was gone. And that dark maiden too, simply gone. The family members looked at each other in horror. But as they looked back toward the fireplace, I was gone too.